going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. But let me not waste any more time and introduce you all to, again, the award-winning author and the young lady of the show, Miss Willa R. Finnegan. What's going on with you today?
I'm good.
Very good, good. So thank you all for getting this together, and thank you again, Mary, for setting this all up and getting this coordinated. I certainly wanted to have Willa on the show. Just listening to her through the Cozy Book Nook podcast, she spoke so poignant and had such she articulated so well. I didn't even realize she was so young, but what really stood out to me was just the details that was provided with your book. So I would like to start off with talking about Snow Cursed. You started writing that book when you were 11 years old, and most people at that age are outside playing catching bugs or playing video games or doing whatever they do. But you wrote a book, and not just a book, but a novel. So let's talk about that. What went into the idea for you to write that book, and why did you want to write it to begin with?
I've always loved fairy tales, and I've loved the morals behind them, the characters. They're just such a huge part of our culture. I just
Hmm.
wanted to capture that in my story. And I've also always loved these other fairy tale novels that I've read, like The Land of Stories, The School for Good and Evil. I really just wanted to make something memorable that people would enjoy and that they would refer to as a really good book.
Yeah, I love that idea too. That with fantasy, that you have to have one heck of an imagination when it comes to writing fantasy. I don't even know how to do it. I can read it and just come up with these ideas of how do you even world build? I don't know, but so where does your inspiration come from to be able to really draw and really put a full length story together at that age?
I just wanted to capture like all the fairy tale characters that I've enjoyed since I was really young, and I wanted to bring them all together in ways that you might not have seen them before. And I just wanted to make something special and have them be reinvented and have the sides of good and evil be reinvented. And I just really wanted to bring them all together into a story.
Ah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And, Don, I'm sure you're just as proud to be able to have something one that your baby girl did, but to have it in the format that she has it in must be such a proud moment for you all.
Oh yes, we're very proud of Willa. She's always been a storyteller.
Hmm.
Even as a toddler, she would have felt boards with little animals and people, and she would just rattle off stories.
Yeah.
So literacy, storytelling, have been a really big part of her childhood. And you mentioned
Hmm.
her imagination. One thing that was really important to us when she was a child was
Hmm.
to foster her imagination with
Hmm.
imaginative play and creativity. And I think most of what she's doing is just all Willa. It's just,
Yeah.
it's a talent that she has. But, we as her parents, when she was little, we really did try to, read to her a lot. She loved fairy tales. She liked to talk about her own stories and create her own stories. Um, so yes, we could not be more proud of her, for sure.
That's so wonderful.
I didn't
And
even
good, good,
realize
good, good. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
there's a little bit more. They got to find out a little bit more about how creative she is. She
Hmm.
created her own website too.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think she could do it, and she did.
That was, dude, your website?
She
That's all
created
you?
her own website.
Yeah, Willa created it herself.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's how creative she is.
Oh, that is spectacular. So people, especially today, many people, they don't even have a website. They go through social media and they leave it at that. What made you even think that, you know what? Creating a website is probably the best thing for me to start doing right now.
Mary got us on the right track, but I just wanted to sort of express other things that you might not find in my novel within my website. So
Hmm.
I have a newsletter, I have blog posts that I do every month. I do newsletters every month too. I have my summer reading list. I've just got a bunch of stuff that I really wanted to use on my website so that readers could get to know me a little bit more.
Hmm. I think that's such a smart approach. Number one, and thank you, Mary. Mary, I love that she's sitting over there, just calm and quiet, like she doesn't have 61 books out. But that's a different topic. But I'm just messing with you, Mary. But the reason why I mentioned that is because when you have somebody like such as Mary right in your corner, someone who has this extensive amount of experience, who knows the ins and outs of publishing, it's really good to have somebody like that in your corner. So having a website, I learned early on too, not at like age 11 to 13, but I learned much later the significance that having a website plays in your favor, especially considering the idea that if you were just reliant on social media, you just never know what can happen with that social media. And if, let's say, for example, you only stuck to this Instagram, and the Instagram founders or whomever decided we don't want anything to do with Instagram, or they sell it to somebody else, kind of like what happened with Twitter to X, and then the policies change, and you may lose a ton of people. There goes your audience. By having a website, a dedicated website with your own newsletter and your own following, will almost for sure secure your audience, because those who go to your website and they go to your and subscribe to your newsletter, they are invested. It's much more than just subscribing to you being a follower, but them going to your website and following you that way is more profound. So with that being said, how has that played a role in you, in your creative side, not only as an author but just as a person creatively, with having a following through your website?
Um, I it's boosted my confidence a little bit because like I can see through the well, not really the website, like the platform, I guess you would say, that I use to build it. It just kind of boosts my confidence a little bit to know that people are looking at my stuff and just learning more about me, and I'm not just doing it all for nothing.
Hmm. Exactly. It's never about anything too. Having intent, having just a direct approach of what you're trying to do is such a smart move to do, especially at your age. So I want to ask a question too to Don. Because I'm a parent as well, and when it comes to our children or a child, however the certain area is from whomever our parents listening to this, we always want the best for our children. But I love what you said about you recognized it. You and your husband like recognized early her love and her creativity and the attachment with that, and you decided, what, let's go forward with this and support her on that. But down the road, right? And this is probably future related question, doesn't have any correlations with now. How the creative world, and I guess for lack of a better terms, the quote unquote realistic world, doesn't necessarily correlate a lot. And I know I've run into this as well with my own parents, with me, where I wanted to go and pursue acting. I wanted to be a creator in that regard, but they said that doesn't necessarily pay the bills. But then I've met plenty of people who go out and they take the chance, and many it doesn't work out for, but some it does. But like as a parent, how do you get to a point to where you're like, okay, we're going to do this, but let's also set yourself up that way? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think that, we truly believe in Willa and her
Yeah.
talent for storytelling and her passion for it, honestly.
Hmm.
So, I tell her all the time that I can picture her one day, and it may not be soon, but down the road, I can picture her, you know, on Good Morning America, the Today Show, them, you know, interviewing her as a best-selling author one day.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're trying to support that, you know, that goal of hers that she does have. And then, you know, she has a lot of academic aspirations as well. I think, you know, she wants to study writing in college, which will be about 5 years away, which is a little scary to think about. But, you know, we know that she's very determined. She's very passionate. She is perseverant. And she, you know, we just feel like whatever she sets her mind to, she can truly accomplish it.
Mm-hmm.
And we are behind her 100%. Whatever we can do, you know, there's been quite a learning curve with the publishing world that we knew really nothing about. But we are trying our very best to help her and, you know, to help with marketing and promotion and things that are somewhat foreign to us. But as a family, we are, you know, trying our best to kind of get the word out. And people are really responding to her, you know, even more than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We see a bright future for Willa, for sure.
Yes, indeed. And I love that you know there's the parental support as well as the person, meaning Willa, having her own intrinsic motivation to do it. And when you cultivate that into one piece, it's just like it's so beautiful to see. And I've heard it as well, just in the podcast that I listened and when I was listening to her on the Cozy Book Nook podcast, and I was just listening to what she was saying and how Mary endorsed her and what the feedback was and how the reactions to what she was saying didn't necessarily get captured on comments, but throughout throughout the recording, the responses that people were hearting what she was saying, throwing up like 100s and thumbs up and showing her just so much love. And I think that that's so important. Like we, I guess as society, don't necessarily need validation, but it certainly helps to receive it. So Willa, you know, speaking of you and speaking of Mary, pretty much her in the mentor like position, how did that entire thing come together? How did you all like cultivate this relationship and become what it is today?
Willa knew I wrote books.
Yeah.
Because I always send everyone here, each new book, they get it. I always send it here.
Mary lives down the street from us.
Just
Yeah.
a few houses.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're neighbors. But she actually was doing, you know, like her mom said, she has videos of her at 3 years of age with felt animals and characters and coming up with stories and moving them around on a felt board. She started that, and she knew I was putting out books. She didn't know I was on book 61 as of now, but she knew I was putting out books. And I didn't know she was going to have her book published as soon as it was. That was all a secret. It was to surprise Willa.
Yes, it was. We
It
surprised
wasn't
Willa.
expected, and the timing was fine, but none of the websites and nothing had been done that you would normally do before that, because I didn't know, and that's how they wanted to surprise Willa, so they did. So it's been playing a catch up, and I think we're catching up pretty good.
Yes, ma'am.
Because her book is in every single state of the United States. She's the whole map is not taken over, and she's got a world map behind her, and she's got books everywhere, all over, around the world. I know a lot of people around the world, and I asked, and they said yes.
That is so wonderful.
She's
How do you feel about that, Willa?
What did you say?
How do you feel about that? Just
It's just
seeing, yeah.
It's just amazing, kind of a little bit overwhelming, really.
Mm-hmm.
But we just had that goal and we got to it, and it was hard, but it worked out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we started just thinking, you know, let's just shade in a map so we can see, you know, where are people reading your book. And then it became, oh, well, I wonder if we could, you know, get our book in all 50 states. And we, you know, Willa did that. and then it even went beyond to different countries. So
Yeah.
it was her goal, to reach 50 states, and the bonus was 24 more countries at this point. So
Yes, indeed.
that's really been actually very fun, and people have really gotten behind that goal and have been, sending it to friends and family, that they know in other states and things. So that people have been very, very supportive of that.
Oh, that's such a when I think about how networking is and how word of mouth is probably like the best type of advertisements. It seems to really shine through in her pursuit in such a young point in her author career. So the you all going pretty much globally with Snowcurse. I have to ask, how did you do that exactly? Are you traditionally published? And I actually know this answer, but I'm asking for for the audience. Are you traditionally published or are you self-published? And if you're self-published, what route did you go through?
So we went with hybrid publishing,
Hmm.
which is kind of like in between both traditionally publishing and self-publishing.
Hmm.
We went with page publishing, and they are a pretty small company in Conneaut Lake, Pennsylvania, and do you want to elaborate more?
Yeah, I mean, we feel like they produced a good book,
Yeah.
for Willa. Willa was very much involved in the cover art.
Yes.
She knew just, to a T what she wanted the cover to look like, how she wanted each chapter, to have a title, not a number. She was very, very specific. And we feel like, they put out a really good book for her. And we chose to go the hybrid route primarily because none of us come from a publishing background. And so we truly knew nothing about how to go about publishing a book. And so we, submitted Willa's book to various places, and, several responded. And we just all felt like that was a good first fit. And like I said, there's a huge learning curve, but at least kind of having a company behind us that kind of knew how to get the actual physical book out, was really important to us, that we kind of take that route, at least for the first book. Now, Willa's already written the sequel, so, we're not quite sure what will happen with that one as far as who we'll choose or whatever, but it's been such a learning process.
Yeah.
But being novices in the literary world, hasn't been easy. So we felt like we needed a little bit of guidance.
Yes, ma'am. And I think taking that approach is immensely helpful because one, it shortens the time that it would take. Like if you were to go the self-published route, for example, just starting out, you talk about hurdles, you
Yeah.
talk about nuances and potential roadblocks coming out of the gate with your first book. Some people can do it, but if you don't come from that type of background whatsoever, it can be so difficult and it can be debilitating as well. And but thankfully that wasn't your case. You had a wonderful team, Willa, behind you, your parents and your friends, and of course Mary and the publishing house that you're under. All were able to get you to get to where you are at currently. Already finished your second book, and are you working on a third as well, or is it just going to stop here?
I've started the third. I'm kind of going back to revise the second one a little bit because it's been a while since I picked it up. But once that one is polished enough, I'm going to start on the third one again.
Okay, and now for this sequel, right? Is this a direct sequel, or is this more like a spiritual? Without having to give away spoilers, right? Is this for to Snow Curse, right? Is it like a direct follow up with the same characters, the same universe, same people, or is it a different story but same universe? Are you able to say anything in that regards?
Yeah, it is a direct follow-up with the same characters. There are some new characters in the story but it follows up directly on the cliffhanger at the very end of Snow Cursed.
Okay. Okay, cool. So the vision, right? Um, do you so some people that I've spoken to, right, when they especially with fantasy genres, is there's this idea of one day I would love to have this turned into a movie, right? Has that ever been a thought that's come through your mind, or is it, you know what, if it happens, it happens. I'm just going to keep doing me and writing my books.
I mean, I've thought about it. I think every author probably dreams that they want their book to be a movie.
Hmm.
But if it happens, it happens, like you said. And I can't really change it if it doesn't. But I would be like over the moon happy if it did.
Sure. Now, like with that being said, right? One of the things that I actually spoke with Mary about recently was ownership, right? Your IPs or intellectual property. For those listening, they don't know what IP means, but because you're under a publishing house, how are the rights distributed? Do you get to have um, maybe 75 to 80% ownership, or is it less than that? And maybe that might need to be a question for you. Might be more of a question for Don, but I'm just curious how that works.
Um, Correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
but we do own all of the content for my book, right?
Yes.
And our contract with Page Publishing expires in 10 months.
Yeah, about 10 months. So they have no rights to the content of Willa's book. Um, they only had rights, or will have rights for 10 more months as far as publishing it. After that
Okay.
10 months, we could choose to re-release it with a different publisher, um, or not, but they have no rights to the intellectual property,
Okay.
and they don't have rights to any future books.
That's
Yeah,
good. That's
yeah,
good. I've heard horror stories, right? But people being brand new into it. And thankfully, even though you're brand new into the world, I'm sure you certainly understand a lot about ownership. And so that part was probably not foreign to you. And because if there was others who came into the business going in the route that you all went and just say, "Oh, hey, here you go," to sell, pretty much give away all their rights. And I've
right.
known many authors who went that route first and then ended up having a battle. Especially, I've had authors when I was doing an indie publishing house, and I had a few authors who've had previous books under a different publishing house.
Hmm.
But when I said, "Hey, where's that book at?" They said, "Oh, you know what? Let me contact the publisher." And maybe that previous publisher's business went down, or maybe they don't want to give away their rights, and it's just an uphill battle. I've always learned early on to have complete ownership of it legally, as well, or you can run the risk of your stuff being stolen, or for even worse, you may have gold, but they don't want to let go of it. So good on you all for doing that, and that's really good for the younger listeners to know that at the end of this, even though we write to want to tell stories, it's also a business as well. So you gotta protect yourself. Yeah, well, so you will, knowing that, right, that this is a business. How do you? Because you're also, you're the brand, right, of your books. How do you balance between your creative side and then the business side at such a young age?
I I try to write when I can. Sometimes like school gets in the way, or like I think that probably happens with all kids with whatever they want to.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but like activities get in the way sometimes. I'm part of student council and band and stuff like that. Um, but like creativity and business are two completely different things. Sometimes they can coincide a little bit. Like if you're making like your website, um, or if you're making like fan art like Mary's been doing for us. Um, but I try to balance them as well as I can because they can't really cross in many scenarios. But it's important to know those boundaries, sort of,
Hmm.
and like to just understand that, I guess.
Well,
Yes.
at Willa's age, I think my husband and I have to step in mostly regarding the business side of things,
For sure.
since she is only 13.
Right.
Um, but I can definitely say she loves the writing part, not so much the business part,
Yeah, tell me about
But
it.
what she does also love is meeting her readers.
Yes, I love that.
Yes.
she, she's great at writing the story, but she loves meeting, readers, potential readers.
Hmm.
Um, we we had a recent Barnes and Noble book signing.
In Overland Park.
Congrats on that.
Yes, yeah, that was amazing. And
Yeah.
Willa, sometimes Willa can be a little bit on the shy side, but just to stand back and watch her talk to people just so freely about her book and why she wrote it and how she wrote it, because everyone was kind of in the same camp of how does someone your age do this, and
Right.
so they were very interested in her story
Hmm.
as an author, and then also her book and how she came about with the ideas for it and things like that. So Willa definitely likes the writing
Yes.
and meeting readers more
Yes.
so than the business.
She's done something else too. Osiris, she's done something
Oh,
else.
oh, what's that? I'm
I
curious.
don't let her tell you about it, but she's had younger kids and older people react to the possibility of writing their own book. So why don't you tell him about all that?
So
Wow.
Barnes and Noble, there were a lot of people who approached me and asked those questions, like my mom mentioned. But some of them, maybe fourth of them,
Maybe.
would you say fourth
Maybe.
of them ish,
Mhm.
were talking about how they had their own aspirations to be like authors at my age. Or
Yeah.
some of them were my age and were writing, and I just told them to keep going. Or
Yeah.
for the adults to do it again, because writing is such a rewarding thing to do, and it's really important to me. And if you have ideas for your own books, you just need to go out there and do it, because it's you just need to bet on yourself, bet on your dreams.
Bet on
Willa
yourself and bet on your
inspires
dreams.
senior citizens like me to
Oh
write.
wow. She's certainly
Seriously.
inspirational. That says a lot about your character, Willa. And just how even at 13 how mature you are, and how respectful you are. It just speaks volumes to your parents and how they raised you, and like the standards and the rules and how things apply. It goes such a long way. But I really love the piece about the inspiring others, the inspiring of others, them coming up to you. See, book signings. What I love a lot about book signings, not me specifically, but what I just love about book signings is that time it takes for the author and the readers to truly connect. We spend so much time behind the keyboard or writing on a pad or whatever the case is, writing in our own world of the story, that we hope and only hope that it's perceived well. But when it is received well and you can inspire other people in the process, it's a win-win. So really good on you. And this is what I love, right? When I meet writers who are really young, and they almost for sure have almost this almost like magical approach to life that most adults don't have, because we've gone through the ringer and we've like gone in and out of the grinder, and we're like, realism, creativity. I don't know, but like at such a youthful age, it's still very much in its innocence. So I love hearing that and being able to inspire them is exactly what we need more of. So I'll ask you just a couple more questions, since I'm a little short on time. Your award. So you are also an award-winning author,
Yeah.
and you won the Literary Titan Award. And I know for a fact that award is really hard to win. Literary Titan, they don't just hand out hand me down or hand me out type of awards. There's a process to win that one, and you won the highest one that you can win with them. So how did you even think I want to submit myself for a book award, and how did it feel to win that book award?
Mary's raising her hand
I
over
did.
there.
I did. I said, this is where you need to submit to.
Yeah, yeah.
As well as reader's favorite. And I tell you, you're hearing it from me right now. I'll bet she wins a gold medal in Miami in reader's favorite. I'll bet she
Let's
does.
bet on it. Yeah, I got it too.
I'll
I
bet
believe
she
in her.
does. And they have people who look at different things for film rights, and that could happen down there too. But she'll know September 1st.
Yep.
September 1st. How do you feel about it? Like, the better question is, do you understand the magnitude of the award that you have, right? And how much weight it has to, because there's a lot of awards submissions out there, and different film different award, I said film competitions, sorry, wrong brain, different book award competitions. Some of them hold more weight than others, but an award is an award. Literary Titan though is a big one for sure. So like, how does that feel for you to know that you are already a book award, an award winning author with just your first book?
It definitely boosts my confidence for future books. Like, if I can do this with my very first debut novel, I can only, like, imagine what I can do in the future. But I also kind of have to, like, pull on the reins of that, like, imagination a bit, because you don't know what will happen. But it's really inspiring to me that somebody, like a bunch of people, looked at my book and said, this girl, this 13-year-old author deserves gold. That's just mind-blowing.
I
They
love
wrote a
that.
mind-blowing review. They wrote a mind-blowing editorial review.
Yes. And Literary Titan, they go into it as well. It's not just they read like the first 20 pages, skipped and read the next 30 and then wrote a review and pretended like they read the entire book. They do a thorough review.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is wonderful to hear. And huge congratulations to you and just future success. So okay, I'll ask you one last question. So I know you have a website, and I'll make sure I link that into the description. But how can people reach you if they are able to not reach you like, hey, let's hang out, nothing like that, but they want to support you, they want to purchase your books, they just want to, they're a fan, they want to become a fan. How do they reach out to you?
My book is on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's in the Overland Park Barnes & Noble store in Kansas. If they want to reach me, they can go to my contact page on my website, and it shares my email there. I do have a separate email for people who want to contact me, just for like privacy reasons, I guess. But yeah,
Social media.
yeah, social media. You can contact me through X and TikTok and Instagram.
And your website.
What?
She has links to all of those
I
things
do.
on her website.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell them?
I have links to all my social media on my website. It's like a little sidebar type thing. You'll see it on the right hand side, I believe. www.willarfinneganbooks.net is my website. So
Okay.
WillarFinneganBooks.net. There
Yeah.
you go.
That's perfect. I'll tag in all of your handles on top of your website and your books, all in the description of the video and the description of the audio recording of this as well. So, yeah, thank you all so much for doing this, and Don, and to your husband and Mary, thank you all
yeah,
for
thank you
getting this
so much.
together. Yes, and Willa, the star of the show. Hey, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to say congratulations and much continued success. And people such as yourself, you have such a warm heart and such a giving heart, and are naturally inspiring just based off of actions at your age. And it's felt around the world, quite literally. The idea that people are already purchasing your stuff, and with your first book and the success that you've cultivated already, it speaks volumes. And you seem like you're one of the chosen ones. And so this is an honor to be able to have you on here. You're gonna go so far, and to me, it's not as much as, hey, I had Willa R. Finnegan on my show, as it is, hey, this young lady who came on my show, she's inspiring an entire planet. You should listen to her. That's what matters to me more. You're going to be a star. I mean, you're one already, but you're going to go even further. So much success to you. Any closing remarks before I let you all go?
What do you think?
Yeah. I just say
Yeah,
thank you
thank
for
you.
having us on
Yeah.
and for giving Willa a chance to speak to people about her book and her journey, and to hopefully encourage other people to,
Yeah.
if their dream isn't writing,
Yeah.
if it's a sport or
Singing,
whatever. Yeah.
whatever they want to do, like, go for it. Like, if you don't fight for your dreams, they're never going to give you anything back. So I think that's really cool.
And
That's
Willa
dope.
always, we'll leave with this.
Wow.
When people ask Willa, what sport she plays, what do you tell them?
I tell them that writing is my sport.
Let's go. I love it.
Writing is her sport.
Yeah.
Let's get it, Willa. Hey, she's different. I like it. Oh yeah, yeah. She's built different.
Yeah.
You're just a warrior. You got a warrior in that body. He's was a warrior. I love it. Hey, thank you all. Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Oh yes, no worries. So just please stay like an extra minute longer. I'm gonna close out and then talk to you all a little bit. That'll be good. So, hey, you all, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune into today's episode. It was wonderful having Willa on, Mary, Don. By the way, what's your father's name? I've been saying husband or father.
Dan. He goes by, his name's Daniel, but he goes by Dan.
Hey, Dan, hey man, thank you so much. Hopefully one day I could talk to you. Probably when she's super famous and I'll be like, don't forget about me over here. but no, I'm all kidding. But hey, Dan, Don, Willa, Mary, thank you all so much for this. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're wonderful.
Of course.
Too.
Thank you all so much. Yep. Well, hey, you all take care and I'll catch you next time.